All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Friday, May 3rd. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. It is summer, and I am Clayton.
Yeah, it is summer and I am Pat. And we're saying it is summer, not because of summer solstice or, it's June 23rd, any of that nonsense. It's summer because the summer movie season officially begins today with the opening of The Fall Guy. This is the first big official summer movie. So the season has begun. And this is a big one because, aside from the COVID years, this is the first time that in 10 years, maybe more, that we're opening a summer movie season with a non-Marvel film. And I would say that's debatable because there have been years where I think a Fast and Furious movie has opened at the very end of April, and
Yeah.
that's kind of been the start of the summer movie season. So there is definitely some that isn't officially, I would say, 100% true, but honestly it's been mostly Marvel for 10 years opening the summer movie season.
And I think was saying that it's like there has been a big superhero movie at the beginning of the summer season,
Yes,
which you're
yes.
not seeing that this year.
No, we are not.
I-
It is.
Unless Sony does what we said they should do and
Yeah.
surprise drops Craven.
Yes, yes, that would be an incredible de-swinging move. And I say de-swinging because we are not on the Kirk Minahan YouTube channel, so it's not anything goes. There is still a little caution tape on our lips, but that would be a big de-swinging move by Sony if they just do the right thing and drop Craven the Hunter at midnight tonight and just get it over with. Just drop this turkey. Don't wait until Christmas. Come on.
Yeah.
That's
It's
ridiculous.
throw the trash can through the window, Mookie. I mean,
Uh
we all
huh.
know he did the right thing. I mean,
He
come on.
did.
I mean,
Yeah,
he did the right thing.
he did the right thing. It's 30 plus years later. We could finally decide Mookie did the right thing, and Sony needs to do the right thing and pick up this giant scummy trash can that is Craven the Hunter and throw it through the window of every AMC and Regal in the country and just get it over with. Release Craven. Release Craven. But we don't know if that's going to happen. I kind of doubt Craven's coming out tonight, but we do know The Fall Guy starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt is coming out. And here's how I have full proof that that movie is coming out. Clayton, I just saw it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually it is me who says wow, but that is deserving a wow from you tonight. I just am coming in hot from having seen The Fall Guy at my local theater. I went with my wife. It was date night, but it did not star Tina Fey and Steve Carell. It starred Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. So before we get into our predictions, I mean, we're not critics, huh? But do we want my take, having
I
seen
mean,
this film?
geez, you sound deflated. This is not good. You sound deflated. I think it's important. You're a theater goer. This is boots
Right.
on the ground. This is
Right.
important. You're speaking for yourself, but you're also speaking for an opening night audience. I mean, this was a prime opening night time slot, correct?
Yes,
What time did
correct.
you go? 7 something?
7:15 showing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a dine-in theater I went to. So 7:15, that is as prime as it gets because you go there to eat a meal.
Pasta dinner.
And got a pasta. I did not get a pasta dinner. Others may have gotten pasta dinners. I went with a chicken sandwich and tater tots.
Okay.
And it was fine. And The Fall Guy was, I hate to break it to everyone, it was just fine. This is a movie that we wanted to be. And listen, when we say great, we don't mean great like The Godfather, you
Uh-huh.
know, or a There's Something About Mary. Those are all time classics, top 5 movies of all time classics. We wanted The Fall Guy to be really, really good and above average funny. And I think where it fell short for me is the movie is not funny at all. I would say
Mm.
at all. And I think that's the thing that could have put this over the top into being a real word of mouth hit. And I think instead I'd be surprised based on the what I thought of the movie and the audience reaction. I'd be surprised if this is the type of movie that gets a lot of "Hey, you got to go see it" reactions. I don't think anyone's going to come out of it saying it's a disaster. It's not a
Mhm.
disaster, but I think it's not going to be a movie that people are dragging their friends by the scruff of their necks to go see it. In the way that I think a Challengers is, and just to get back to that real quickly, and have you seen Challengers yet?
No, I have not had the time, unfortunately.
Okay. Do you feel a sense of shame not having seen it after the discussion we had last week?
It's
Um,
hard, you know,
you
it's hard
should. You
to
should feel shame.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just hard to dissect into a pie chart what my shame stems from because it all
Mm,
sort of is a gumbo.
right,
But
right. A
yeah, I
Clayton
mean, I
gumbo.
feel general shame, and I've felt more shameful in the past week, so I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Okay.
But but I think we need to stay on Fall Guy
Stay on Fall Guy, yes. So
because
that's my big take is I don't think it's gonna be a movie that people say you've gotta go see it. It just comedy doesn't work, and I think that's the biggest disappointment because Ryan Gosling is obviously very funny. He just got an Oscar nomination for pretty much an all comedic performance in Barbie.
Mhm,
It's the rare, Robert Downey Jr. in the movie he should have won the Oscar for Tropic Thunder
mhm.
or Kevin Kline in Fish Called Wanda,
Code
the
Wanda.
rare getting an Oscar nom 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 just for being funny. And that's what
Melissa
Gosling did.
McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy, of course, Speak Her Name and Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids.
Cameron Diaz, of course, should have got a Best Actress nomination for There's Something About Mary.
I
That
mean,
was
we could talk about how I mean, every up and down the board, everybody
yeah,
should have gotten a nomination for that movie, but
100%.
he that was my I think that was my fear going into this, and I
Mhm.
vocalized it several times on the podcast because I the filmmakers behind this do the sort of movies that I don't the action movies I'm not a fan of, which are comedic action movies that aren't funny, and I think that is what Bullet Train was. And it was my fear, and to hear that that is the case with Fall Guy is really disappointing because, Brad Pitt can be funny, obviously, but we've seen Ryan Gosling be funny in a summer movie just last summer,
Right.
and to have that happen, to have this sort of fall flat in that way is really disappointing to me.
Yeah, and I think that would have been the thing that separates this from the pack is if this had been laugh out loud hilarious, as much as it needed to be for an action movie. But that's the kind of thing that takes this movie over the top from being Bullet Train, which we'll get to the numbers. I'd be surprised if this does less than Bullet Train. It pretty much
Mhm,
has to. But I think the thing that would have made this do double the numbers that Bullet Train did is if it was so funny that people were saying, you got to see how funny this is.
mhm.
And Ryan Gosling is so funny again, a year after he got an Oscar nomination for a comedy. So I don't think this movie is going to do that. I mean, listen, I could be wrong and I could be, you know, I'm a guy who was brought up on The Kids in the Hall and Chris Elliott. So I've got fine, refined comedic taste. But
Mhm.
the audience I was with, no one was doubling over. No one was falling on the floor. No one was laughing so hard they were snorting soda and popcorn through their nose. That wasn't happening.
Mhm.
So I don't think I'm alone in saying that this movie wasn't as funny as it needed to be a giant hit.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well, are there things to offer other than comedy? Let's put aside the
let's
jokes falling flat. Are there great action set pieces? I mean, are there things in this movie that you need to see on the biggest screen possible?
that's the other thing. The that I would say the thing that this movie has going for it the most is how likable Gosling and Emily Blunt are.
Okay, the romance is big.
The romance is good. they're great together. You know, the chemistry that we saw when they presented on stage at the Oscars, that is real and it is spectacular. Um, they're not in the movie together enough, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is a problem and was a mistake in the script, that there's a long portion of the movie where she doesn't know what he's up to and they're artificially kept apart. And the scenes that they are together in the third act, when they're together a lot, I think is the best part of the movie. They're not in it enough that I would say that that relationship is going to get a lot of buzz either. You know, as opposed to, here's a movie that I've seen this comp to that I think makes a lot of sense. And it's a movie I liked better, The Lost City with Channing Tatum and
Mm-hmm.
Sandra Bullock. That's a movie where they're together the whole movie. And that's the thing that makes people talk about the movie. And I think The Fall Guy makes a mistake of keeping these two apart for way too long, when the best thing this movie has going for it is their two stars, and their two stars who are fun to see together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that was a true romantic comedy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where this feels like it's a action movie with comedy and romantic elements.
Yes. Yes. Well, here's something that I do want to bring up in regards to The Fall Guy. You know, we all know it's based on IP. It's based on a early 1980s network TV show starring Lee Majors. And, you know, I got to say, I'm surprised this is the first time we have said his name. And I'll say his name again, Lee Majors.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're movies, we don't talk about TV. To me, he's such a big TV star that we should have said his name at some point in the course of the run of the BO Boys.
Yeah.
He was the star of the $6 Million Man. You think, okay, one show, he's got that, good for him. Then he comes back with The Fall Guy in the early 80s.
Big.
So big all-time TV star Lee Majors. RIP, except he is alive. So good for
Okay.
him. And the original premise of the TV show The Fall Guy is that it's him and two other friends who are all stunt people who are also bounty hunters on the side. As the theme from The Fall Guy says, you know, they're bounty hunters and that's how they pay the rent. Or they're stuntmen, and to pay the rent, they also go out as bounty hunters. And that premise allowed him and his fellow stuntmen and stunt woman
Woman.
and stunt people
People.
to hang out together and do their things together. And in this movie, they changed the one of the characters, the character Emily Blunt plays in the movie. In the show, she was a stunt woman, and in this movie, her character is a movie director.
Uh-huh.
And you know, get why they did it. They want to spoof directing, and they want to bump her up, I guess, a notch. But to me, you lose something by, if she had been a stunt woman and they're together the whole movie solving crimes or even being bounty hunters, I think that chemistry would have been a lot more sellable than having her be a director and keeping those two characters apart as much as they did.
Mm-hmm. Do they use the theme song? Is there a cover of the famous Fall Guy theme song?
There is a cover of the theme song in the post credits sequence, and the cover is sung by Blake Shelton. Whereas in the original TV show, the theme song is sung by Lee Majors.
I mean, it's one of the greatest theme songs of all time.
Yes,
Truly.
yes. Um, I mean the theme song to The Fall Guy. I have the lyrics in front of me. Start with, "Well, I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. I've never been with anything less than a 9, so fine." That
Annoying.
is
Annoying.
the first things you hear in that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about that is that Lee Majors sings it. He
Mm-hmm.
name drops Farrah. He, at the time, was married to Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah.
So in character of his TV show theme song, he sings about the hottie that he is married to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's if that doesn't sum up the 80s, I don't know what does.
So does that mean that she was stepping out on Lee Majors with this stunt guy?
Right, because he's singing that in character. So in canon, Farrah Fawcett is banging the stunt guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I've been seen with Farrah. That might have been in the past. So it may have been a situation where Farrah Fawcett dated the Fall Guy character, but then eventually ended up with Lee Majors, the actor.
I feel like Lee Majors would still be mad.
To know that in the past she dated a stunt man who he now plays.
Do
Yeah.
you think Lee Majors yelled at her about that?
About the
Like,
song that he
about the
co-wrote and
song that he
sang.
co-wrote and sang, but he, like, went
Possibly.
and he was like, "How dare you step out? I don't care if it was before me."
Right, right, right. And she's like, "But you wrote that and you sang it." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Look at me, look at me."
Yeah, yeah. He's like, "Don't gaslight me."
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, those were the 80s and that makes sense. And, he was the fall guy at the time. And listen, I'm sure he had access to the finest drugs in the world, and so he wasn't always in his right mind. We assume.
Mhm. Yeah.
RAP, glad he's alive. But
Yeah.
all to say that this movie, it doesn't it doesn't do what okay, here's what I'll say. And tell me if you think this would have been a bigger hit. And I think we may have mentioned this. If The Fall Guy was made into a movie in say 2005, it's a out and out comedy and Ben Stiller is playing the Fall Guy. And it heavily references the vibe of the TV show in a way that
W
this doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying what if they did a Starsky and Hutch with it? Which
Yes,
would have
yes.
been would that have made more money coming on the heels of Starsky and Hutch because it's something that had already been done? Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, that is the question too. Or is Starsky, or do they do this instead of Starsky and Hutch?
Right, right. I
Because
mean, I would assume that this was in the running to be made by the Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson comedy
group.
crew in the
Yeah.
in the early 2000s.
I mean, I think the problem that this movie falls into is that the sort of action comedy that David Leitch does
Mhm.
might have a short window, and that window may have closed before this movie could come out. Because when you pump out the similar sort of these types of movies, not just for theatrical, but for Netflix as well,
Mhm.
then there is gonna be diminishing returns.
Yeah.
And so
Well
this sort
mhm.
of comedy action genre, the way it is now, is maybe stale. And it's felt stale to me for a while, but I'm in the sort of, small camp who believes that. I don't think that I don't think most of the public is completely sick of these movies, but this might be one where it's one too many. So again, opening weekend could be big, but it could fall flat on its face in the coming weekends because there's no real reason, like you said, to recommend it, to go back and see the great set piece or the great romance or those funny jokes that you want to laugh at again.
Yeah, it's I think that's what I'm sure because I don't think this is going to fall flat, and I don't think this is a thing that people are going to realize they're sick of something. I think the issue is going to be what is so great about this movie that it's going to propel it past the base level expectations.
Well,
So
here's what it
I don't
is,
think
Pat.
again, I don't think this is a disaster in any way, and I don't think this is a movie where people are gonna say, "Oh, this is the tipping point where I'm sick of a genre." I think it's fine, and I don't know if just fine is enough to make this a mega blockbuster.
Were your expectations too high?
I I think well, I mean, is it mine or is it the industry? This is the movie that all of Hollywood basically in some way they all get together and they decide, yeah, this is opening up the summer. Universal's expectations are pretty high. This isn't a movie that they're sticking, you know, in August, like a Bullet Train, or end of June, like A Quiet Place 2. This is a movie that is the Guardians of the Galaxy kickoff summer slot. So I don't think
Well,
we
I
could
mean,
sit here and
Guardians
blame it on
became
me.
that.
I don't think we could sit here and blame this on me.
I'm
about
not, but don't.
expectations.
I
So,
don't
so,
think
so,
you can.
so don't put words in my mouth that my expectations are too high because Hollywood is expecting this to kick off the summer.
I
Gee,
also
damn it.
I also don't think you should invoke Guardians because Guardians started as an August movie and created that sort of big August movie. So
No, but you know what I
even
mean.
though the
Last summer was Guardians 3, so
yeah,
this is the slot that it's taking. So I do think the expectations deserve to be high for this movie, and so doing Bullet Train or Lost City numbers, I think will be a disappointment when you open this on the first weekend in May. So the expectation is this has to be bigger than that.
but the thing that's going to put this over, and
Mhm.
you said it briefly when you were talking about this movie and the things to recommend about it.
Mhm.
Ryan Gosling,
Yes. Yes. I mean, it all
Emily
could come down
Blunt.
to that. Yep.
That is if that is the case, then that's good for the future of movies because
Yep.
then we know stars are back and a star can propel a mediocre movie to great heights because people just want to see them on the big screen.
Yep.
That is, I think, going to be the test here because when
Yep.
we're talking about twisters, the big thing we talk about with twisters is that it's not about having two tornadoes
Mhm.
because that's something that yes, it will be fun to see, yes. But it's Glenn Powell looking at those two twisters that's important. That's what's important. And if that movie fails, it's going to be because people don't care about Glenn Powell looking at two twisters. The thing
Mhm.
about this movie is that it is going to fail if people just don't care to see Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in a movie
Right.
because they're just not butts in the seat stars. That is the big test. And I think that is the thing where it's that can overcome flat punchlines to me. Seeing someone like handsome as him and charming as him, and someone beautiful like Emily Blunt and funny and charming. Those are the reasons people should go to the theater. Yes, at the end of the day, should all blockbusters be like Die Hard, like a great scripted movie that has twists and turns and great, action sequences that we all remember? In a perfect world, yes. But sometimes at the beginning of summer, when you've had what 3 hot days since February, people want to just go into a theater and enjoy two beautiful, charming people doing their thing.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, that's the special effect of this movie. That's the reason to see it on the biggest screen possible, is because their faces are so much better than ours. And their faces are so much
Yes,
better than anything we could see in an office or on a subway or riding our tractors around, and God knows you're not seeing faces like Ryan Reynolds and Emily Blunt in the soot mines. And even if they
Ryan
were down there, they'd be
Gosling.
covered in soot. Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
Oh, Ryan Gosling. Yes, of course, of course. So yeah, that is the reason. And that's why even after all that, it's the opening weekend of this, and we'll get to our numbers. I think in the end, the opening weekend is gonna be good to better than the expectations because they're gonna get people out there. The thing is gonna be in the weeks to come, is the word of mouth going to get people to keep coming back or new people to come? But I do think the star power is going to get people to sample this movie opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And the reviews, and listen, I'm not a critic, huh? The
Huh?
reviews on this movie seem to be positive. I mean, I'll double check what it's at now, but last I looked, that the tomato score was fairly high. It is at, where is this? What is it? 84%. So 84%. So people are going to look this up. Is this good? And generally, critics are going to say it's good, huh?
Huh?
So, I think the opening weekend is going to be fine.
Okay.
And it'll be more in the weeks to come. I guess the disappointment for me is I wish there was something great about this movie. And I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Okay. Great. So do we want to, before we give our numbers, obviously, there is another movie opening, a little counter
Mhm.
programming. Tarot,
Yep.
which is a small horror movie, is
Mhm.
opening this weekend. Uh, and, there's been the debate, people talking about, is horror dead at the box office? We disagree.
Yes.
But when movies like this drop in, who with really no names and pretty small footprint when it comes to commercial push, it's easy for them to say, "Oh, here we go, another underperforming horror movie."
Right, right.
But it also is this movie probably has a super low budget. If it opens to what we expect it to open to, which is single digits, you know, it's still gonna do okay for theaters because that's 7 to 8 million more dollars in the kitty for them. So, I don't think this thing's gonna break out. This feels to me like an invitation sort of situation or
Mhm.
something on the smaller along those lines, and so I don't know how much we really have to talk about this movie. Now, have you heard anything from our horror correspondent, Brett of the New Flesh, about this movie? Has he
I
seen
have
this
not
movie?
I have not texted with Brett of the New Flesh about this yet, so all of our listeners, I mean, if you're not already subscribed, you gotta do it now. Subscribe to the New Flesh because I guarantee Brett and Jesse over at the New Flesh they're gonna be talking tarot on Sunday or Monday when the new
Now
episode
Brett
drops,
is
so
probably with his new flesh, his child, but I'm
yes.
gonna text him and
Okay.
say, "We are live on air.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is like a real radio moment here.
Have you seen Tarot?"
Wow.
Yeah,
And,
and you're privy to this text too, because I put it on our chain. We have a
this is
shared
a thread. Great.
thread.
Great. So we will see if we will give any updates if Brett replies back. Clayton, this movie Tarot, do you think it should have been released under its original working title and the title of the 1992 novel it was based on called Horoscope? Do you think Tarot should have been released as Horoscope instead of Tarot?
Um, yes.
Yes,
I
right? Why
think
not?
I think there's been a movement away with horror movies from those sort of punny titles that we used to
Mhm.
have in the '80s.
Right. House the
Be
second story, of course.
Yeah, things like that, and I think now low budget horror, indie horror, they do those. They sort of they embrace the corniness, if you will, of punny titles. I think it needs to come back because that would get people talking. I mean,
Yes.
that would be something that people would laugh about. Now, do they laugh in a good way or a bad way? Who knows? But you're still going to have an audience going to see this movie because there's teens and tweens who want to go get scared and do whatever
Mhm.
they're going to do in the theater. I'm not going to
Yep.
say what it is, but they can't do it with their parents at their parents' houses or guardians' houses. So there's always going to be a segment of the population that's going to go see these movies. So yeah, why not call it horoscope?
Yeah, I guess you because Tarot is not a brand name, so they could get away with it. It's not like they're calling it Monopoly. Tarot
Hmm.
is not the a name owned by a company. But I mean, do you think there's any sort of play towards the female audience by calling it tarot? Because I mean, I'm just going based on my wife and her friends. They all love tarot. They're all
Hmm.
amateur witches, and they all have their tarot cards. And I've been on trips with my wife where we have to go into a shop because they've got tarot stuff. So by just blatantly calling it tarot in a way like horoscope wouldn't say, hey, this is about tarot cards. Do you think that there is an audience that is just obsessed with anything tarot that's going to go see this, or is that audience not care? And also, that audience is going to want to see Ryan
Fall Guy
Gosling. Yeah,
or Challengers because they heard it was good. Yeah,
right.
I mean, I think that that is a good call. Like I was gonna say I enjoy the horoscope title, and but I do think it is what you're saying. It's a blatant call to a certain sort of woman
Mhm.
to say there's at the very least you're going to see cool looking tarot cards in here,
Right.
and they're all looking for a new cool tarot set, right?
Yeah. Uh,
So, I mean, I think another name for this could be slash astrology, because there's a
mm,
lot of women who are into astrology. You know, that's a good
right.
punny title that would get people into there too,
Slash astrology. Yeah.
more than horoscope.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, and the tarot thing, like if I were to tell my wife that there was a movie called Tarot and it's just about looking at new tarot cards, I think she would say, "Okay, when is that playing?" But then when I
Mhm.
say it's a slasher movie, she would lose interest. So
Yeah.
so I think the the person who's super into just looking at tarot cards may not want to see tarot cards be treated in such a way where then people get killed for using them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is the thing, is that it will seem to them as sacrilegious.
Right, right, right. And not the good sacrilegious where they're witches, but the
Mhm.
bad sacrilegious where it is demeaning tarot cards.
Well, sacrilegious against their religion, which is witchcraft.
Yes, true, true. Yeah. So Clayton, we've got a big unboxing we have to do. Do we want to save that for the very end of the show and get to our predictions right now?
Yeah, we can do predictions if you want.
Let's do predictions and a little tease for the end of the episode. This episode does not end with our predictions, as the weekend previews usually do, because we got an unboxing that we are going to do together on this show. So it's very, very exciting. So, Clayton, it's prediction time for the weekend of Friday, May 3rd, Fall Guy weekend, opening weekend of summer 2024. Would you like to go first or second
I'll go
for
first.
the All right, he's doing it. He's kicking off the summer movie predictions season. So, yeah, Clayton, give us a number for Fall Guy and your predictor rankings.
Now, I hope I'm wrong here,
Mhm.
because I'm just feeling the lack of, like, not the lack of buzz, but the buzz has subsided for the Fall
Okay.
Guy in a way that I'm not comfortable with going 40 on this.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
I I I'm gonna go 33.
Oh,
I'm gonna
wow.
go the Jesus number here,
Oh my god.
33. I think it's not gonna be great. Uh, I
Wow.
do th I will
Wow.
say, though, number 2, Challengers, I do think is gonna make $8 million, so that's something to be happy about, that I
Okay.
feel like that's gonna hold decently.
Okay.
I'm gonna go number 3. I do think Tarot, just because it's horror, and there's nothing really horror out at the moment for the Gorehounds, but I do think it's gonna make, like,
Okay.
$7 million. Um, Number 4, I think, is collab. I just think
Mhm.
that the kids love the collab, so Godzilla v Kong, well, not V Kong, sorry, X Kong, because it's a collab.
Mhm.
I think that makes $5 million, and then number 5, Civil War, is gonna make, like, three
Wait,
million
what
dollars.
movie?
Snivel War, I'm sorry.
Oh, got it.
I misspoke. Snivel War is gonna make $3 million.
So you think Unsung Hero does not make the top 5? Came
No,
in
I
number
think
2
it
last weekend.
I think it drops. I think that movie really didn't have any sort of legs to it.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So, um wow, that is low on Fall Guy. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this as a comp when we get the actual numbers, but you are basically putting it in the exact same opening weekend range as Bullet Train, as
Yeah.
2020. I mean, Bullet Train opened to 30 million exactly in August 2022. So you've basically got these movies almost dead even
Well,
in the
Pat,
open.
you're
Wow.
telling me, I mean, this is boots on the ground from you. You're telling me there's nothing to make this special. This isn't a Bad Boys 3 situation, right? Where, that movie, you can say whatever you will about the upcoming one, but that movie ended up being really fun and had jokes that hit and was an enjoyable experience. And from what you're telling me, Pat, this is a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I think opening weekend is still based on how big people perceive the movie to be. And again, I don't think having seen this movie that it is uh uh a movie that is such a quality drop that people are going to be negatively talking about it. I think that the open okay, so I'll just give my predictions
Yeah,
because
what's
why
your
beat around
number?
it. I think it's going to do 42 million. I think that the opening weekend of this movie, all that matters is it feels like a big movie. It's gotten a ton of promotion. It looks fun, and it's got Gosling and Emily Blunt coming off of Barbenheimer. So
Okay.
to me, that gets it over 40. I do think if it opens at your number at 33, that is a huge disappointment. And because to me, there is the outside chance that this movie does get to high 40s or 50 based on people just really wanted to go see the big movie with Ryan Gosling.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that's a possibility. And I think low 30s means people really they're treating it like Lost City and they're treating it like Bullet Train, which both of those movies were successful. They were hits, but they weren't something they weren't kick off the summer level movies,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, but this is a different I mean, again, this is
Sure.
a change in this is it's the part of the sea change. There's gonna be growing pains,
Sure,
you
sure.
know?
But I mean still kick off the summer the last few years, barring COVID, meant $100 million openings, which no one thought this would get near.
No.
But the drop off from it being movies that open to 100 million to a movie that opens at 30, I think would be pretty severe. So
What do you think if
we'll
this
see.
movie makes 100 million all in domestically, it's a failure?
It's tough to say. I mean, I think that is
Because Bullet
you know
Train
what?
and
We'll talk about that when we get to the results on Monday. We'll
okay.
talk about that. But I do think it's going to get to 42 just based on the promotion and the star power. So I think that opens to 42. Challengers, it's going to get hit by this movie because there's such an overlap in being a date movie, being a star driven movie. Um, so yeah, Challengers I think does do a solid hold 50%, so it makes like 7.5 million and is number 2. Number 3 is going to be Tarot. Number 4 is going to be Godzilla X Kong, and number 5, yeah, Snivel War or Unsung Hero. Yeah, it's got to be Snivel War because Unsung Hero is going to drop to like 3 million.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess we have the same top 5, but I'm a lot higher on Fall Guy at number 1.
So
So
d- we're gonna do this unboxing. So I'm gonna turn my camera back on, and I think my camera's flickering for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's some sort of unfriended dark web situation. It looks like, but
okay, so for the
here's what I'm.
YouTube audience, we'll see if Clayton he does appear, and we'll see if he gets taken by an entity in the last
Uh,
few minutes of this YouTube
eh,
exclusive.
Here's what I'm gonna say about this unboxing, which is what we
Okay,
are doing. Which is we
yeah,
got things from Jeff Bach. Which, if you listen to our preview or summer preview, if you haven't, you should. And he sent us t-shirts.
yes. Well,
Now
we don't
the
know. We don't know what's in these packages, and I'm going to hold
okay,
up.
okay,
We
okay.
got packages from the great Jeff Bach of Exhibit Relations Co. And we don't
Mine's
know for
my
sure what's in here.
mine's in a pretzel box. Mine's in
Oh,
a
wow.
twisted Snyder's pretzel box. Now, but what I'm
Wow.
saying, I think they are t-shirts and I want you to go with me here because I think
Okay.
this will be interesting. So Jeff alluded to giving me a Fall Guy T-shirt, which I was very
Okay.
excited for and was hoping I would get.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also sort of said, uh, "You might get the if shirt." So
Mm,
here's and Pat might get the Fall Guy shirt. So here's what I'm thinking. Let's open these packages, and if they are in fact T-shirts for these two properties, whoever gets the Fall Guy shirt
right.
is correct in their prediction.
Oh, okay. So you think there's like magic involved in the way he sent these packages?
Yes, with
Okay.
in celebration of tarot coming out. We're
Okay.
getting hippy dippy here.
All
Okay.
right. All right. All right, let's start opening. Let's start unboxing. So, this is the thing here. If you're only experiencing the BO Boys as a podcast, you are definitely missing out now because as an audio experience, this isn't great. You're hearing the sounds of ripping. But if you're seeing the hands move, which is fantastic. Okay, so I've got a few things, Clayton.
Okay.
I've got a few things. Can I show you the thing that is not a shirt?
Sure
The thing that is not a shirt is a bag of twisted pretzel sticks. So I've got a small package of Snyder's twisted pretzel sticks from Jeff Bach. You got an entire box from Bach of Snyder's, and he did mention I think these were CinemaCon gifts, and you also got pretzels. You also got Snyder's twisted.
Yeah,
okay, so we have got it. These are seasoned with a buttery blend of spices. Excellent. And they are good until September of 2024. Okay, so we've got some time, but we don't have a ton of time to eat these. We've got a few months. So I think we both agree we will take these bags of pretzels to a film this summer and eat them in a theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
will do this.
And we got to do before the end of September because they expire then and become dangerous. So thank you, Jeff, for these pretzels. But now, do we want to see what our main gifts is? Oh, I've got a few gifts. Oh my God. Jeff spoiled us.
Did you get what I got?
Well,
did you get a hat?
I got a hat, and the hat is the hat says Reagan movie 24.
Yes, we're
Reagan
going.
movie.
Oh my goodness!
So now, who stars in this Reagan movie? Of course, this was heavily promoted at CinemaCon.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff famously wore the Reagan movie 24 hat while he did our BO Boys weekend summer preview episode. And the Reagan movie stars Dennis Quaid, of course, plays Ronald Reagan.
The great Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid, and a film directed by Sean McNamara. The film follows Ronald Reagan's life from childhood to his years as president of the United States, as told by a former KGB agent. Interesting. Okay, so you've put it on. I'm going to hold it up because I don't want to just take my headphones off, but there you go. If you're watching on BO Boys YouTube, Reagan movie 24. Thank you, Jeff Bach, for these trucker hats. I mean, true trucker hats. You can see the netting. Again, you got to watch this on YouTube to get the full experience and see the netting on these Reagan movie 24 hats.
And they're back.
They're back.
Trucker hats are back.
Great. This is great. Could you wear this trucker hat in the soot mines?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it help at all? I mean, the soot will get through the netting, but
we're allowed to.
Yeah.
We're allowed to wear any article of clothing that has Ronald Reagan's name on it.
Okay, great. So even if it was like a Speedo, as long as it says Ronald Reagan, you could wear it in the soot mines.
Mm-hmm. If it says get one for the Gipper as well.
So let's go to the main event.
Yep.
Let's go to these shirts. And Clayton.
Oh boy. It's bad news for Fall Guy, everyone.
Yep. I got the if shirt. Clayton got the Fall Guy shirt.
Brand new. It says
Brand
brand new,
new.
so he knows. Brand new.
Mine says gently
Gently
used.
used. There we
Mine
go.
says gently used. Jeff, of course, did wear this on air, and now he passes it on to me. So I'm going to show it off. The If shirt with a character that seems to be totally just ripped off from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's my
this
Fall
thick
Guy shirt,
purple
as you can
guy.
tell, with the now classic logo of Ryan Gosling falling in the A. And then on the back, I mean, this is a awesome shirt. Fall Guy Stunt Association.
Oh wow,
I mean, this is
wow.
making me want to go higher. See, this is why
That's the
studio.
thing.
This is what got Harry Knowles in trouble.
Once you get
This.
merch, yeah,
This is what
this.
got Harry Knowles in trouble, because if
There,
Harry Knowles had a Reagan movie 24 hat, he'd say it was the best screenplay he ever read.
yeah.
And if he got this shirt in, and no offense, but we're just being realistic, in 5XL, he
I
would
think
be
I think that is being very kind to Harry Knowles to say that he's
7XL.
7XL at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got
And I think even with that, they're cutting the back so he could just
yeah.
wear it open in the back if needed.
It's a gown. It's a hospital gown for Harry Knowles.
Yeah.
All
He
right.
needed
R.I.P.
RIP event. RIP soon, if not already.
Resting in progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Who lives longer, Harry Knowles or Lee Majors at this point?
Oh, Lee Majors.
Lee Majors for sure.
I take Lee Majors over
has outlived
me.
like 4 wives. He'll outlive you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The real race is Clayton versus Harry Knowles to the grave. Who gets to piss on the other's grave?
Yeah. And we shall.
Yeah. But yeah, you got the Fall Guy shirt. It's making you love the Fall Guy. Yeah, I mean that's how Harry Knowles was taken down. Was his big problem was being taken in by Schwag,
Yeah.
of course. But I got the If shirt, John Krasinski's upcoming If with Grimace right there on the shirt. There he is, the famous John Krasinski character Grimace. I will wear this shirt. Probably not to see If. I can't imagine I'm going to see that movie.
No.
But I will wear this. I mean, thank you, Jeff Bach.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
We speak your name.
What an amazing package of gifts that we got. We got pretzels, we got hats, and we got shirts.
Yeah, it's amazing.
My God, what a man.
I'll be wearing my Reagan movie hat to work and to church.
Great. And they have you worship in the soot mine, right?
There definitely is an altar.
Yeah. Yeah. You're one of those jobs where you guys get your last rites at the start of every shift, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty mumbled, but it counts.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll get you through those gates someday. You might roll in there with Harry Knowles.
Maybe.
Roll through those pearly gates.
Two rascals on rascals.
Mm-hmm. So Clayton, I think we've done it. What an episode. I mean, my God, we've got so many Fall Guy emails. You know what? Let's just plow through a few because these are opening weekend specific. I just want to say their names. Aaron, wanna be oh boy Aaron. He did say, hello, BO boys. It's finally Fall Guy weekend. I, for one, will be glad to never see this trailer in the theater again. While Ryan Gosling is out there dressing up as Beavis and Butthead, oh boy, and appearing at a theme park stunt show promoting this movie, can we look at perhaps the next biggest re-release of the weekend, the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace? May the 4th be with Star Wars and put a damper on kicking off the summer movie season with The Fall Guy. Will this century-old movie do better this weekend than any of Liam Neeson's many recent releases? So,
now, this is actually a pretty big question. Do you think that the re-release of Phantom Menace could beat Civil War?
You know, I am glad we read this because we didn't mention this. It really all depends on how many theaters is this actually going to be in.
And are they premium feed? Like, is it PLFs? Any
Right.
PLFs?
I mean, I think this is going to be fairly small. Like, I think it'll do over 1 million,
Uh
but I
huh.
don't think Phantom Menace is doing 5 million.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to make that kind of dent where it ends up in the top five. But I mean, maybe we are missing something and this is going to be in like 2,500 screens this weekend. I just don't think that's what's happening here.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The fall guy fatigue feels real.
Um, I want to shout out Wannabe boy Max, who did send us the article about Dwayne the Rock Johnson peeing in water bottles and being chronically late. This was a
Yeah, that
rap
was huge.
article, huge blockbuster. And audience, we did cover this, not on the main feed, but on a Kirk exclusive on the Kirk Minahan YouTube channel. We did a full hour just yesterday on
Mhm.
this blockbuster article about Dwayne the Rock Johnson, his possible downfall, peeing in Voss water bottles, uh, being on average 8 hours late a day to movies. Uh,
Average. That's the average.
average, meaning that some days he was 16 hours late.
Mhm.
So we did a full hour on this. Thank you, Max. So if you aren't already, go to the Kirk Minahan YouTube channel, find the BO Boys Kirk exclusive that just dropped yesterday. We go into great depth on this blockbuster article about The Rock. Let's see. Anything else on quickly, let's do, because it mentions the fall guy. Let's just read through wannabe oh boy Javier's boots on the ground school survey for May 2024. Uh,
Okay.
so, so of course, Javier is a great wannabe oh boy, a great wannabe oh college boy who's written us before. He's done events at his school where he's predicted, not predicted, but been quizzed on box office totals and just wowed the students with it. So great man, Javier. So Javier writes, Dear BO Boys, back with another Wake Forest survey, this time for big movies coming out in May. The ones this time were The Fall Guy, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, If Furiosa, and the Garfield movie. Results were once again interesting as all of the movies got a solid amount of check marks, but The Fall Guy easily had the most check marks out of them all, with many people saying they are excited for it just for Ryan Gosling. Then Furiosa and Garfield came in second, if behind that, and then Planet of the Apes. This does make me wonder just how much Fall Guy will overperform. My school actually did a collaboration with Universal where they hosted an early screening for students in one of the local theaters. I couldn't go due to other commitments. What I heard, people really enjoyed it. Interested in hearing what you guys think, Javier. Javier, I mean, again, here's one thing I'll say to wrap up on the Fall Guy predictions. This is one where the tracking doesn't necessarily tell you everything about what the movie's going to do, because unlike superhero movies, a movie like this, people are going to walk up and buy tickets.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the thing of like, oh, it's only sold this many tickets 3 weeks before, so that's all it's going to do. It's not the same thing as the superhero movies. People don't feel like they absolutely got to see it opening weekend because of spoilers. I think people are just going to walk up to a theater and say, I want to go see a movie, and there's the Ryan Gosling one. So,
Mhm.
there you
I
go.
I might have gone low, but I don't want to change my prediction. I want to live with that prediction. If it happens to
Yep.
be low, it's low.
Yep. Um, yeah, you don't want to change your prediction based on getting a t-shirt, because again, then you're the new Harry Knowles.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of comparisons between the two of you, but you don't want them all to be true.
Yeah.
So last
That's got
one,
to be it. What?
that's got to
Last
be it.
one?
No more. We'll read more emails next show. So email us, the BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. We will get to your emails. We love getting your emails. We've got so many and we just want more. The BO Boys podcast at gmail.com. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod on TikTok and Twitter X, Wannabe Senior Intern Christopher, of course, killing it with the video clips. Wannabe Junior Intern Jack. He's brought back the Substack, an amazing preview of this weekend that Jack's written up. Jack is in between us on his Fall Guy predictions. He went 38 million.
Mm-hmm.
So higher than you, but not as high as I am. But you got to read Jack on the BO Boys Substack. Subscribe there. Of course, like I said, we've got the Kirk exclusive on the Kirk Minahan YouTube channel. All of our videos are on the BO Boys YouTube channel. So if you're just listening to this, you got to watch the YouTube video if you want to see the shirt. This is the imaginary shirt with Grimace from Imaginary right there on the front of the shirt. So
But
go to the
epilepsy warning for my camera.
Yes, Clayton's camera is glitching. We think it's the camera. It could, though, be Clayton's physical form. The soot may have gotten inside of him and made his body glitch. But go to the YouTube channel to see what that looks like. And 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We got to get to reading our Apple Podcast reviews soon because we got a doozy. So we will do that very soon. Leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. And man, I think that's it. My Lord, I got nothing else to say.
That's got to be it.
It's got to be it. No.
Except for until next time.
We'll smell you at the box